She is an exceptional legal mind. She is so well qualified, and she's going to be a phenomenal Supreme Court justice.
If confirmed, Amy Coney Barrett will become the 5th female U.S. Supreme Court justice. Barrett is a longtime law professor at Notre Dame. She's a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit. But the critics don't care. We're talking to the students and the lawyers who actually know Barrett the judge, Barrett the professor, and Barrett the mom of 7 children. Meet the real Amy Coney Barrett.
She is the fairest, smartest, most qualified, no better person for this job.
I want the world to know the judge that I know.
The first time I heard of Judge Barrett was after her confirmation hearing, when the video of some of her exchanges with the senators went viral.
The dogma lives loudly within you.
I remember seeing that exchange and just being incredibly just blown away. And I remember thinking, at that moment that she was exactly the kind of judge that I wanted to clerk for.
I had the privilege of having then Professor Barrett at Notre Dame Law School for 2 classes. There are still many barriers that a blind person faces in terms of accessing information. I couldn't read my textbooks, I couldn't take notes. I was really struggling to keep up in class. It was a really terrifying experience.
I sought Judge Barrett out because her character and reputation preceded her, and I followed her career while I was in law school, and to get the opportunity to work one-on-one with her was absolutely incredible.
I clerked for Judge Barrett for the 2018-2019 term, but I actually met her several years before that as a first-year student in her constitutional law class.
What I was expecting from her was just practical advice. This is the person you need to email, this is what you should say. But when I went to go talk to her, I found myself just talking with her not only about my technology problems, but also about all of the other struggles that I was having as a blind person at Notre Dame. Professor Barrett, she was very kind. She just allowed me to talk and to say my piece and to get out all of my emotions. And at the end of it, she just very quietly but completely matter-of-factly told me, this is not your problem anymore. It's my problem.
A judge must apply the law as written. Judges are not policymakers, and they must be resolute in setting aside any policy views they might hold.
She was a tough professor, beloved but tough. She always encouraged open dialogue in class, encouraged diverse viewpoints, and would push back on those viewpoints, no matter what they were, to help us as students try to reach the most refined and principled answer. And she does the same thing in chambers. She tries to use her clerks, use the arguments by the parties, use whatever's available to make sure that she is reaching the most principled answer, separate from any personal preference or public pressure, to get the right result under the law.
Even though she is this incredible legal mind, she always took our views really seriously. She's a remarkable listener. She doesn't cut you off. She doesn't, kind of jump in. She always takes the time to hear what you have to say and talk through issues.
I think we know a lot of the hot topic cases. One in particular, it was hard to kind of figure out what the right side was. And so she came into my office one day and was like, Marielle, I'm thinking about it in this direction. And I said, oh, well, I'm thinking about it in the totally other direction. And we spent an hour just going back and forth. The next day, she knocked on my door, stopped by my office again. She said, I think I'm kind of coming around to your side. And I said, I think I'm coming around to your side. And I think that what that really shows is that she values the opinion of those around her, and she's not coming to the table with these preconceived notions of how cases should come out. She really does deliberate over them.
Judge Barrett is a person of faith, and it was evident in her life, in the way she loved people, in her kindness, in her compassion, her generosity, her patience, and even her work ethic and enthusiasm for the job. But when she was deciding cases in the decision-making process, her faith had no role in her approach of applying the law as it is written.
One of the most valuable things I took away from my year with Judge Barrett was watching her balance a career of the caliber that she has with being a mom of the caliber that she is. And I think I had the courage to pursue that kind of bimodal lifestyle of wanting to be both an attorney and a mom, fully invested in both, because I saw it modeled so well.
She frequently told us endearing, funny stories about her children. She showed us pictures of her children. Because she has 7 children, oftentimes when she was trying to make up a hypothetical, she would use them as parts of her examples because we knew all of their names.
I can remember coming into chambers once and 2 of her youngest kids were in our courtroom playing judge. So they were down the hall like doing that while she was in her office working on an opinion.
Professor Barrett was, she just proved to be this presence where she would occasionally check in on me as things were proceeding, asking me how I was doing. She was willing to be there as a support even when it had absolutely nothing to do with her role as being a professor for me.
On that very first day, we were cleaning together and getting to know one another, and I was telling her about a new relationship that I was in, and I was saying, Judge, the guy is younger than me, I don't really know what to think about that. And she said, oh, my husband's younger than me. It's no big deal. Judge on character, not age. Towards the end of my clerkship, I came back from a weekend on a Monday morning, and Judge walked into my office to talk about a case, and she was about to ask me a question. I said, Judge, before you start that, I have something I need to show you. And I held out my hand and showed her an engagement ring. And she screamed out and just threw her arms around me and was just fully celebratory in that moment. It was really cool to share that news with her.
When I received an offer to clerk on the DC circuit, I didn't immediately get a chance to tell her. She just kind of pulled me aside after class and asked, have you heard any updates about the clerkship? And I told her that I had gotten it. She just sort of like gasped and reached out and grabbed my hand and was just so emotive and expressive of how happy she was for me. I don't want to be the type of lawyer who is just cutthroat. I don't think that that serves our profession well. Professor Barrett is someone who has showed me and has showed countless other young women that it is possible to be a very effective lawyer, judge, professor, counselor of any kind, and still be compassionate and still understand that no matter what you're doing, it affects people.
She's actually spoken about the courage it takes for a good judge to set aside her private preferences and to ultimately decide cases and apply the law as written. So, that's what I experienced in chambers with Judge Barrett. That's what she's going to do as a Supreme Court justice.